What's up, folks? Back with another reaction, back with some more acid-trance. We're going back to 1996, that magical year. I mentioned it before, whether it's acid techno, acid trance, hardcore, goa trance, just so many genres that I have remained a big fan of over the decades. The 90s is a sort of glory period more generally, but again, a number of the labels and artists I follow from back in the day, that 96 just seems to be when so many people and so many labels were just at the top of their game. So it's another example. We're going to listen to a tune on the Future Wax label by a trio that go by Kinetic A.T.O.M, though the A.T.O.M is an acronym with periods, and I don't know what it stands for. It's a short-lived trio. They only made 2 releases on Future Wax, and then there was a later record on Color Box, which I also have, which has one of the tracks from this, as well as one of the tracks from the second release on Future Wax, which I don't have, which is called Return of the Borgs, and the reason it's called that is because one of the tracks on this is called Borg Destroyer. We're going to listen to the other tune, which is Impossible Trigger. I believe I reacted to it on my old channel. It was very early on. Again, my old videos, for a number of reasons, I would recommend just don't even bother. Let's just listen to it again. But yeah, bottom line, it's a trio. Martin, Andy, and those 2 people, I don't know much about their work outside of the trio, but the third person is named Timo, and if that sounds familiar, it's Timo Mass, who I know Timo Mass from his releases on the Green Nucleus sub-label. I know he originally was on, I think, BXR, I think it was an Italian label. But yeah, bottom line, he's done a number of tunes, and I believe he's made tunes with is it Mario Picotto? There's a few people who I have a couple records where they're all involved. So, but yeah, bottom line, Timo Mass is definitely a name that I know outside of Kinetic A.T.O.M, whereas the other 2 guys I don't know much about their work outside of this. But yeah, we're gonna listen to Impossible Trigger. It was first on a compilation, or for me, I first heard it, I should say, on a compilation release, which was hugely influential to me getting into acid techno and acid trance. Those who follow my old channel will know the sound of acid core, especially volumes 1 and 2. Volume 1 came out 96, volume 2 came out early 97. I probably got them both in early 97. And this track, Impossible Trigger, by Kinetic A.T.O.M, was one of the tracks included on the first volume. And so I don't know, that those releases, again, the first 2 volumes especially, they're a mixture of acid techno and acid trance. There's both on both releases. For me, this is acid trance, but I could understand why people would say, that's like 90s acid techno. It's just acid techno with that old school sort of flavor. I would sympathize with that, but I think this would work very well, and I know it does. I've used it in acid trance mixes, mixing with tunes from Nostrum, and tunes from Noom, and tunes from Pablo Gargano and Eve, and so on. So for me, I think it could work in a set of both. But yeah, I sort of classify it in my brain as acid trance. But enough talking, let's get to it. This is Kinetic A.T.O.M, Impossible Trigger, and I don't know what the sample's from, but I've always enjoyed it because it sort of makes reference to the way our brains work, the way that sort of neurosynaptic pathways can be activated by the proximity of other electrochemical signals, meaning smells, sounds, sights, and images from the past can possibly trigger other memories. So yeah, I love the fact that there's a sample at the beginning of this release which makes reference to that. Nevertheless, let's get to it. This is Impossible Trigger by Future Wax on Impossible Trigger by Kinetic A.T.O.M on Future Wax. Good lord. But it's Future Wax number 14, 1996, as I said. I love that acidy kind of
Memories are formed by association. Smells,
it's
sounds, and images from the present.
a downward haze or something. It's it's soaking the air, but it's also heavy.
possibly trigger.
From that very like atmospheric intro, it then strips down heavily for this austere like proper intro, or like, you know, percussive intro. Another reason I think you could fairly classify this as acid techno, the kick. It's a bit more of a techno kick than a trance kick. I mean, even that, it's an oversimplification. There's variety, but now the acid bass line, rich is like this golden texture. I love that little percussive roll into the measure break. It's like electric rubber, like you can hear the acid like stretching and bending. I do like that little bleed rhythm, and also the sort of like large and mechanical stab. I like calling the track the impossible trigger when you're saying like sounds, smells, sights in the present could possibly trigger a memory, like impossible trigger.
Memories are formed by association. Smells, sounds, and images from the present could possibly trigger them.
But that is how your brain works. It's like neural pathways are like fire. So like if you've already burned out like a pathway, if you have like another thought that, you know, is proximate in terms of the connections of the particular synapses, it can sort of trigger prior memories. So memories aren't stored like in a shelf somewhere. They can be activated. So still that like deep, like stretchy, bendy sort of layer, but now the top layer is like brighter and like a bit more driven. I love that. I love a good dead pause. But I was gonna say that like that layer is crucial. It's the counterpoint to everything else that's going on. Everything else is bright and rich and golden, and that's like level to go. Again, it's sort of stripped down, but you can feel like the tension string tells you like we're waiting for something. Yeah. Again, to me, more on the acid trance side of the fence, but I think it could work in a set of both. But more if you did mix it in a set of acid techno, more like 90s acid techno, maybe not like 2022 acid techno. Let me know if you disagree. Acid boiler, just turn it down a little bit, turn it down a little bit. Sweet. Exactly what it needs to be. Yeah, to me it's like an all-time classic because I heard it from that compilation, Sound of Acid Core Volume 1. Maybe not my favorite track on the compilation, because again, that compilation is just ridiculous, and like part 2 might even be more crazy. Yeah, bottom line, just, you know, go on Discogs and look up the track list of the first 2 volumes of that compilation if you're interested, because like seriously, that was my like, you know, baptism by acid fire for both acid techno and acid trance. Again, probably early 97. I think maybe I got them at the same time. That's why I'm saying that. Maybe I got the first one in late 96 and then the next one. I think that's actually what it was now that I say that, because I think I was like so into the first one that I got the second one, got the third one. The third one is good. There's still a lot of good tunes on there. I don't think it's quite on the level of the first 2. Got the fourth one. It's good, but again, it felt like even a half step down in terms of like the overall quality from part 3. So I never got 5. I think there is a 5 and a 6. I know there's a 5 for sure. Maybe there's a 6. But yeah, the first 2 are where it's at. So yeah, bottom line, that's where I first heard this tune. Eventually I think I got the color box vinyl, which again is sort of like a compilation of Kinetic A.T.O.M material released a couple years after. I think that was like 90, no, I think it was just 1 year after. I think it was 97. But again, the Kinetic A.T.O.M trio, they only made 2 records, 96, 97, and then they never made anything else. But like I said, both tracks on this record are definitely, you know, worthy of being in any acid trance set, or maybe an acid techno set. More so this one though. I would say Borg Destroyer, I think, is more clearly acid trance. I'll react to that one. Let me know what you think. But yeah, bottom line, let me know what you think of this one, and I will see you next time. Peace.